Hi, thanks for checking in. My name is Max. I'm a doctoral student at Goethe University Frankfurt, and what I'm going to present is joint work with Daniel Ringel at UNC and Bernd Skiera, my supervisor, who's also at Goethe University Frankfurt. This project is about online search, and what we know is that today most product-related searches start online. And that means either on general-purpose search engines such as Google, or on platform-specific search engines such as the ones you know from Amazon, eBay, or maybe Booking.com. Since consumers are using search engines so heavily in their search process, knowledge on what consumers search for online has become very valuable for firms. And specifically, it's valuable for firms on two levels. First, on an operational level, it can directly inform many marketing activities. So for instance, if you know that your consumers search for cheap credit, you can directly target them with ads or design specific ads related to the search query, or generate content on your website which relates to the search query. Secondly, on a more strategic level, it also provides you with some insights into the general needs in your market, which you can then use for activities such as STP on your product development. However, obtaining such knowledge on what consumers search for online is actually challenging. And let me illustrate why. So assume you have some consumers which have specific needs. They use search engine by typing in search terms to identify products which might fulfill these needs. As a result, they see some search results, which then can direct them to firms' offerings. Of course, the market can be heterogeneous in the sense that there might be a different segment of consumers with different needs who uses different search terms. Now, out of all this process, what is observable to the firm is only the right part. So that means a firm can observe where in the search results it appears. However, everything that's happening on the consumer side, so who these consumers are and what search terms they use, all of that is hidden to the firm and actually only observable to the search engine. And what we want to do in this project is make part of that information observable to firms. So specifically, we want to identify who is searching what in a market. And that includes the who, which means basically who these consumers are, so their characteristics such as age or gender, and what they search for. So that includes their needs and how they express these needs in search terms. And that is typically a market research question. And so what we do is we design a market research approach which is specifically tailored towards the setting of online search. Before showing you what we are actually doing, let me briefly outline how firms can obtain such knowledge as of today. Basically, a firm has three options. Either it can rely on its own website data, which you can analyze, for instance, using Google Analytics. It can rely on search engine data, which is provided, for instance, by tools such as the Keyword Planner, or you can use any third-party tools. What is common to all these tools is that basically your result will look like this. So you will get a set of keywords which basically include search terms related to your market, which might be used by consumers. However, what is also common is that any link to the consumers themselves is missing. So that means all information about who these consumers are and how different consumers might search differently is missing. And of course, that would be very valuable for firms, because assume you would know that, for instance, your target segment, which is especially profitable, might search differently than another segment. You could target it directly using ads or design specific content for your target segment to attract it to your website or offering. However, as of now, that is impossible because, as I said, this link between what consumers are searching for, so the search term, and who they are, so their characteristics, is completely missing. And what we want to do is we want to provide this link. And basically, our idea consists of a market research approach, which itself consists of 4 steps. First, we hire participants, which might come from a market research panel or a crowdworking platform, and we task them to conduct online searches related to a specific product category. During their searches, we monitor all their activities and finally analyze what they were searching for using a combination of different machine learning techniques, which we ultimately use to link what they search for, so the search terms they are using, to their characteristics. So for instance, their age or their gender. Now, the crucial question here is how can we monitor how consumers search for online? And there, our basic idea was to come up with our own search engine. So we designed an online tool which basically resembles Google, in the sense that it has a very similar layout. We have a search bar, it loads ads, it also loads organic results, and basically it loads Google search results in real time, displays them to the user, so he or she can use this search engine just as he could use the search engine Google itself. However, the crucial difference is that this tool is hosted on our own web server, which means we can monitor all activities on it. And that allows us to log all information, such as the search terms all consumers are using, and link that to the consumer itself, which we know because we hired them as participants. So before I outline more specifically how we analyze the data we obtain, let me just show you some results to make it a little bit more tangible. We conduct our study in the credit card category in Germany together with a large international financial service provider. We hired 250 participants from a crowdworking platform, and basically we aim to first discover what these consumers search for in the context of credit cards, so the needs they have and how they express these needs in search queries. And we wanted to test whether we can link their characteristics in some way to what they search for. So let me show you a few results. First of all, we find that there is actually large variation in what consumers search for. So overall, we found more than 300 unique search terms. And to give you a little bit better idea of what these consumers were searching for, here you can see one of the clusters of search terms we identify, which was all related to credit cards with low fees. So as you can see, all of these search terms include something like fee or annual fee. And there were also other clusters of search terms. For instance, here we identified search terms which were mostly related to brand-related searches. So here, most of these search queries included a specific brand name, such as Amazon, for instance. So that means there is variation in what consumers search for. The question is, can we link that to customer characteristics? And to test that, what we basically did was, first of all, we encoded these search terms to vector representation using well-established machine learning methods. So specifically, we use word embeddings to come up with numerical vector representations for each of these search terms, which were then able to feed into a regression model, here a logistic regression, which we use to try to predict the gender of the participant. So basically, we wanted to see, are there specific search terms which are in some way related or indicative of the gender of the participant. First result I can show you is that, yes, this model works, and it works rather well. So as you can see on a test set, we achieved a hit rate of roughly 70%, which means that even for search terms which the model did not see during training, we were actually able to predict the gender of the participants with rather high confidence. And how does that work? Well, to illustrate that, let's look at some search terms which our model identified with a very high probability of being male. And as you can see here, where I list 5 of them, many of them included actual brand names. And if we look at the search terms which were associated with a very high probability of being searched by a female proband, you can see that the female proband did not use brand-specific searches so often. So apparently our model picked up on that and identified that this was a criterion how we can differentiate between these two consumer groups. Now, finally, wanted to see, can we use these differences for targeting? And to illustrate that, we identified 2 clusters using our model, which had especially high probability of being male or female, respectively. And here you can see a few search terms which relate to these 2 clusters. One is low interest rate cards. The second is cheap traveling credit cards. And when we look at the gender distribution, we see that the first one is associated with males with an estimated probability of 82%, whereas the second one, only 30% being male. So if you compare that to a 50-50 split of random guessing, you can see that our approach actually creates an uplift of roughly 30% as compared to this benchmark, which is substantial and indicates that this could actually be used for targeting. So to sum up, what we do in our paper is we provide a new market research approach, which is specifically designed for online search. We apply it and see that there's actually large variation in what consumers search for, and that part of that variation can be linked to variation in customer characteristics. And that also provides a substantive insight in the sense that search engine advertising could actually be improved by identifying typical search terms of your target segment. In our case, for instance, search terms specifically used by female probants, and you can use these search terms then to target them specifically. Moreover, there are a few managerial applications of our approach. You could use it simply to guide your search engine marketing activities. So for instance, use it for keyword discovery in your market, but it could also provide you with more general market insights, for instance, into the customer needs in your market. So that's basically it. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions or feedback, I'm very happy to hear that, and you can simply write me a mail. Thanks.